Hello there, and welcome to another episode of whatever we decide to call this thing. This is a Studio One mini tutorial, for lack of a better term, and today we're going to deal with the idea of taking 12 bars of rhythm that you create yourself and copying that and pasting it to extend the track out and make it as long literally as you would like it to be. In order to start, you need a guitar. We got a guitar handy, so that takes care of that part. And we need Studio One in front of us, which is already open. Let's go over here and click on a new song. We'll select an empty song. And we now are at our main song timeline. Right click and click on Add Audio Track. And we're going to add a stereo track because that's the way the output that I have from my 11 rack is set up. This may be mono if it's a different device, but set it up according to however your own device is set up. So let's just double check and make sure that we're actually looking at what we want. Yes, we want the 11 rack left and right, so that's what we want. We'll set this to record and arm the track, and then let's take a listen to see what speed we're at. And 85 beats per minute seems a little slow. Let's see. That's a little too slow. So we'll take it up to 100 beats per minute and listen to that backing track, or excuse me, that metronome. I think we can live with that one. All right, we make sure that our cursor is starting at the 1 position, and you can see down here it says 1 1 1, and there's no time elapsed on the thing, so that's a pretty good indication that we're where we need to be. Now all we have to do is come over here and click on the round record tab, and we should be up and running making a stereo recording. Before I do that, let me just bring this down a little bit so you can see a little more of what's going on here. All right. Okay, we actually went beyond 12 bars there, but that should give us enough to get us by. So now, let's take a look at what we have here. We'll squish the timeline down a little bit so we can see the entire track in the window. And we see it begins at bar 2 because we had 4 beats, or the first bar where we counted it in, or let the metronome count it in for us. Let's listen to it back once. 3, 4. Okay, perfect. Well, it's not perfect, but... And we'll continue on. So now we have more than 12 bars. So what do we want to do with that? We want to cut it down so it's only 12 bars. And to do so, well, we know we want that first 4 beats in there, just kind of let us get started, whether we use the metronome or not. Incidentally, the metronome is not recorded as part of what you recorded on the guitar. We know that right here at bar 2, which is why I use a metronome, at bar 2 is where we begin. And we go for 12 bars, so at the end of 12 bars, that would be at the end of 13 and 14. That's the end. So the quick and easy way to find out if we have a good loop is to create the loop position. And we will bring our cursor up here till we get the left-right indicator, which tells us we're setting our loops. And this is the end point that we're looking at. So let's drag that over here to the 14th beat. By the way, I have snapping turned on, so this will look pretty much the same on your computer. You may have to turn that off if you're slightly off a little bit, and we'll show you that if we need to. And the beginning point is at bar 1. Well, we don't need that because that's 1 bar of silence. So let's grab that, and we'll bring that over here to number 2, which is where it starts. Now, one of the nice features of Studio One is it has a loop setting, which is down here in your transport control, and you can highlight that, click on it, And now it will play within the loop and over within the loop. So we'll bring the cursor back here. We'll start out, let's say, from the beginning and see how it sounds. Well, from that transition point, it sounds like we've got a good loop. So let's actually take that and cut it out. The first thing we'll do is come over here to the second bar, and I like to expand my timeline out so we can see. You just put your cursor in the timeline, and you can see right now we're set up for showing up to 16th notes, and that would expand as you got further. We're currently showing 8th notes. Here's your first measure and 4 beats to the third measure, or second measure, excuse me. And if we expand it out further enough, you'd see that we get another marker that pops up at some point there. So we'll start here, and let's select our range tool. We'll come here to, and you notice it snaps. When I say snapping, it's moving. Here, let me make this a little more clear here. The cursor is not moving directly with the mouse. It's actually snapping from each individual increment, which in this case is 16th notes. But we'll start here, and we'll drag this all the way over to where we have our end loop. And that's right here. Now, we've got it highlighted. All we have to do to make a copy of this is double click on it. And it's now its own separate piece, or its own separate event, if you will. From here, we'll copy it. Actually, let's change back to the standard cursor. We'll copy this. And then we'll put the cursor here, and we will paste it. Now you can do that here by clicking on paste, or you can use the shortcut Control V, which will paste at this cursor point, wherever the cursor's at. Pasting. There we go. And now if you take a look at it, it goes all the way out. Now we see this gray area in there. This is actually stuff that's been overlaid. And if you don't like the way that looks, let's just move this out of the way. And you can come over to the end of the timeline. I'll show you here. End of this event, rather. And if you put it right in the middle of the event, you get a cursor with a left and right arrow. The left arrow is grayed out. And you can actually take this back here. And then bring this track in and set it right there. Simple. 24 bars. But there's something else that we can do beyond that. In fact, let's take this down and shrink it down so that you can see, so we have a lot of green space left on the. Since we have this highlighted, there's an option called duplicate. And you'll see this here. And it's simply a D at any point with a highlighted event. What that will do is it will actually add on to the end of this with another copy of the event. So we'll click duplicate, and we see that we've added out another 12 tracks. We can continue doing that so long as we want by just pressing D. And now we're out to well over 120 bars, or let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We'll do one more for a series of 12 progressions. And now we can go back to the beginning and listen to the entire track, which we're not going to listen to the whole thing, but we can listen to it from the beginning. here towards the end to see how that was our transition. Okay, now there's one other thing that we might want to take a look at when we do this, and that is this is all individual events. In other words, it's not one continuous track. So if we were to highlight this one, say, and take it out here, oops, excuse me. Now we have a hole in there. Well, let's put it back. And we can do one other thing to make this into one full track. If this is in fact what you want, we can do what's called a bounce. And bouncing is just very simple. You position the cursor in here. You highlight the entire section of the track. And then right click, and you have an option here called bounce selection, or Control B will also work. You do that, it doesn't change the track at all, but it does combine it into one long track. So now you can't separate it. At any time you want, you can undo that if you like, and it'll go back to being an unbounced track. But we want to keep it there as a bounced track. And then you're free to save it or do whatever you want with it. Or you can take it one big loop and have it play on forever. Hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you again soon.